look. Before we get started, I got a motherfucking disclaimer around this bitch. You hear me? If you do not like your kids to hear profanity, like shit, bitch, hoe, pussy, balls, damn motherfucker, leave the university now. You hear me? If you don't like black guys with their shirts off, leave the motherfucking university now.
Peace to all the gods and goddesses upon the sky. Peace meaning positive. Energy always creates elevation, man. This video will be a legal review. This will be a video to, inform the PR team, inform the viewers about the certain violations that took place in this trial, man. Hopefully y'all watched all the videos. If you didn't, go watch them in order so then this video will make more sense. So in this trial, of course, it was perjury that took place. It was lies. Stories were very inconsistent. The jurors had to be biased because there's no way someone can be found guilty in the case where the evidence, the evidence is inconsistent. Stories are inconsistent. Then you got law enforcement not thoroughly doing their job, and all those violations, this video will explain it deeper for you. All right, so like I said, the police they interviewed the lead detective. She admitted to not thoroughly investigating the 911 call. Also, she didn't review the full body cam footage, So with that being said, they didn't fully investigate the case. So this is a 14th Amendment violation. As it says, due process violation. The due process clause protects individuals from being deprived of life, liberty, or property without proper legal procedures. If the police's incomplete investigation led to significant harm, wrongful arrest, whatever, without sufficient evidence, it could potentially violate your due process. However, courts have generally held that police do not have a constitutional duty to investigate fully unless their actions undermine a fair trial or legal process. Also, another one would be equal protection violation. If their failure was to investigate was due to, certain statuses, race, and gender, they could, use that against the courts. But I'm not really sure. Well, from what I seen, I don't think if I was them, I would target that. But maybe they could. But the next one would be 42 USC 1983 claim, which is also say you may also have a civil claim against them, which allows individuals to sue state actors for civil rights violation if the police acted with gross negligence, malicious intent, or in a discriminatory manner. You might be able to sue for violation. And probably they probably did have malicious intent. They didn't review footage. They went off of hearsay, didn't do proper investigation. So you could say, it was malicious intent. Key consideration: did the police failure to investigate affect your ability to receive a fair trial? Actually, that's true, it did. Was there any intentional or discriminatory action involved? You could say, but was exculpatory evidence ignored or withheld? Yes, because that's a yes, automatic yes, because they had evidence, like they checked Pocahontas' phone, but it didn't have it didn't have any thing against Rashad. Like, it was clean. So they checked it to see if they could find anything against that could help them prosecute Rashad. Nothing was on there. It was clean. They did not bring that evidence forward. So therefore, evidence that could have proved his innocence was actually withheld. It actually was. So, they could bring in a civil claim under the 42 USC 1983. They could bring that in. Also, like I said, the witness, the victim story was changing. First, they talking about inside the pants, but first initially it was outside the pants. Now they talking about inside the pants. It was a lot of switching of the stories. First they said that stuff only happened during hide and seek, but now they talking about it was during when she went to the grill. Like, it was just read the stories, man. It's a lot of changing in their stories. So when a victim story changes multiple times during the case, it can cause legal issues. but it doesn't automatically amount to a legal violation, but it could lead challenges in the case and may impact the legal process. So credibility issues, witness credibility, it's weak. So how did y'all still believe him? Also, impeachment of testimony. If a victim's story changes significantly, the testimony could be impeached during trial. This means the defense can point to prior inconsistent statements to question the reliability of the victim's account. So they could, they could bring that type of stuff up. Perjury, which it was perjury in the case. If a victim gives false testimony under oath and is proven that they knowingly lied, they could be charged with perjury. Perjury is a criminal offense that occurs when someone intentionally makes false statements while under oath during a deposition, trial, or hearing. Darshell Smith made many. She was. It was a lot of perjury. Review it. Go look again. It was a lot of perjury. She kept lying, and then she kept on rewording her story. All right, false report. If it becomes clear that the victim intentionally fabricated or false reported to law enforcement, they could be charged with false reporting, stuff like that. I mean, you could argue that because her stories was very much changing. You could, her stories was changing all over, inconsistency. So you could argue a false reporting. Also, Darshell agreed to the getting the kid, and she said kidnapping, so that's a false reporting. Due process violation if the changing story is not addressed properly by investigators or prosecutors, and it leads to wrongful charge or unfair trials. Violates due process under the 5th and 14th Amendment. The defense could argue that inconsistent testimony was improperly used against the defendant without proper scrutiny. Brady violations. Under Brady v. Maryland, the prosecution is required to disclose exculpatory evidence to the defense, including information that could undermine the witness's testimony credibility. If the victim's changing stories reflects inconsistency that casts doubt on their testimony, this information must be provided to the defense. Failure to disclose such evidence could be a Brady violation and grounds for dismissal or reversal of a conviction. This is the main thing because in the trial they asked her, did you y'all investigated Pocahontas' phone? The lead detective said yes we did, but we didn't find anything on there. They were trying to find like something to help the prosecutors get Rashadjamal basically in jail. They were trying to find something that proves that he did it. But like I said, man, the phone was clean, and they said that the phone was clean, and they asked him, you didn't decide to give this to the detectives or no, to the defense? They said no. They withheld evidence. They didn't. They withheld evidence. They didn't give them the evidence to help Rashad. So this is a Brady violation because they withheld evidence that can possibly be used to help Rashadjamal in this case. So that's a Brady violation. Prosecutor misconduct. If the prosecutors are aware of the victim's inconsistent statements and continue to push forward with the case without disclosing this information or correcting the record, they may be committing prosecutor misconduct. Honestly, it was a lot of prosecutor misconduct. I honestly can't recall if they was really asking her, but hey, listen, man, if they would have been asking her, trying to get her to correct it, if they was trying to, if they actually was correcting her, then obviously the case would have been thrown out. They wasn't really doing all of that. She could, because it was very inconsistent. Defamation or malicious prosecution. If a victim's changing story leads to a false accusations and the defendant is wrongfully prosecuted, the defendant may file a civil lawsuit for defamation or malicious prosecution if the prosecution was initiated without probable cause or with malicious intent. I mean, you can put up on you could say that because Darshell was caught saying because on the text messages which they reviewed it in the trial, that the fact that Rashadjamal didn't want to go back to her, she was saying something like, "You're going to regret this," or something. She was showing she made it very known, and it's very clear that she's vindictive in them text messages. So with that being said, bro, that's another civil lawsuit, defamation, because she said certain stuff in the trial or during text messages which was brought into trial, saying like he was going to regret it and this is going to catch up to you, so stuff like that. All right, due process violation, 5th and 14th Amendments. inadequate investigation. If the police or prosecution fail to conduct a thorough investigation, ignore exculpatory evidence, or fail to follow proper procedures, it could violate your due process. Due process requires the government to handle your case fairly, conducted with the aim of covering the truth. And like I said, they ignored exculpatory evidence, which was the phone. They didn't, that could have been used to help him in his case. They ignored it. They didn't follow the proper procedures. They didn't review the 911 call, which was a very important thing in this case when it comes to filing the report. Withholding exculpatory evidence, Brady violation. If the law enforcement or the prosecution had evidence that could have exonerated you or cast doubt on the credibility of the witnesses, which they did, but they didn't bring it out, and failed to disclose it, which they failed to disclose it, this would be a Brady violation. This is a direct violation of your due process rights under the 14th Amendment, as every defendant has the right to all material evidence that could potentially exonerate them. Right, another inconsistent or false testimony. If it is inconsistent or false testimony was presented and not challenged by the prosecution or corrected by the court, it could result in violation of your due process. Courts have ruled that knowingly using false evidence, including perjury testimony, violates due process, which I feel like that has occurred. Right to a fair trial. Perjury by witness. If witness are whether the victim committed perjury, lying under oath, then this went under judge during trial. It can severely undermine your right to a fair trial. Prosecutor misconduct. It's inconsistent testimonies of witnesses provide inconsistent stories, and these inconsistencies were not addressed properly or disclosed to your defense team. This causes violate your right to a fair trial, and he was violated in those accounts. All right, equal protection violation, 14th Amendment. If it's a bias in investigation or prosecution based on race, gender, socioeconomic status, or discriminatory reasons, which led to improper investigation. This could be a violation. But I feel like they was biased in this case. Especially because he didn't get a bond because of what he said on social media. I feel like that's a socioeconomic status, or I feel like he was treated unfairly due to his socioeconomic status on that aspect, and it could have probably potentially led up to how they investigated the case because it was a Brady violation. They didn't disclose evidence that could help him. They didn't give it to the defense. Okay, so perjured testimony and conviction. In Naples v. Illinois, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that a conviction based on false testimony violates the 14th Amendment due process clause, especially if the prosecution knowingly allows perjured testimony to go uncorrected. If false testimony was a key part of your conviction and not addressed as a serious constitutional violation, obviously it was perjury going on because, like I said, they were lying and the stories were inconsistent in their testimonies. Failure to disclose witness impeachment evidence, Giglio violation. Under Giglio v. United States, the prosecution is required to disclose any evidence that could be used to impeach the credibility of a witness. This includes information that could cast doubt on the trustworthiness or reliability of a key witness, such as prior criminal records, inconsistent statements, or any deals or agreements that the witness have made with the prosecution. So basically, like I said, like it says, the prosecution is required to disclose any evidence that could be used to impeach the credibility of a witness, but they didn't do that. That's that phone. Not bringing in that phone is a key thing in this case because that could have been used to help him in the trial. That it could have been used to impeach a witness, impeach the credibility of a witness, but they didn't bring that, so any witnesses was able to go in there and say anything. So therefore, that's another violation. Another one would be the failure to investigate and present exculpatory evidence, which of course is due process, and which was also was with that cell phone. But also, it could be a thing where if there was evidence that pointed to another person as the perpetrator, or evidence that could have corroborated your innocence, and the prosecution ignored or suppressed that information. I mean, you could say Rashadjamal's sister. I don't recall her being on trial, if I'm not mistaken, because she was on the phone when they said they allegedly heard Pocahontas say, Rashad did that stuff. So she could probably be in the case because, of course, this is a false case. She could have been there to help. You know what I'm saying? Because she probably be like, no, I didn't hear that on the phone. Something like that. Also, cumulative error doctrine, even if each of these issues alone does not rise to the level of constitutional violation, the cumulative error doctrine allows courts to consider the combined effect of multiple legal errors, which it was, or violations, which it is during the trial. If numerous small errors occurred, such as perjured testimony, inadequate defense, prosecutor misconduct, they may collectively create an unfair trial, leading to a reversal of conviction, which I believe should be, or a new trial. All right. So with that being said, on top of the myths, the inconsistencies in testimonies, the lies, the new stories that was randomly made up, the inconsistent stories, on top of the eldest daughter still talking to him despite these allegations, despite all the BS in the trial that clearly shows he didn't do it. On top of like all that BS, it's a lot of things that I found that are important that can cause a retrial. That should cause a retrial or cause these charges to be dropped. Due process violation. It was as I just reviewed, they violated his due process. Brady violations, perjury, Sixth Amendment violation, Fifth Amendment violation, 14th Amendment violation. Then Giglio violation, violations of these trials. Bro, I found 7 violations. It probably was, of course, more, but these are the main ones. They violated his rights. I'm looking at these people having videos talking about, okay, the transcripts came out, he did it. It's like it ain't no way you can believe it reading these transcripts from front to back. That's crazy, you know. It's a lot of haters out there. It's sad that where we live in, it be our own people, it be, you feel me? But that's just how it go. And stuff be happening to me, like, you know what I'm saying? So it's just be like, man, that's just how it is. But, of course, send this to the PR team, like, share, or do all of that, because I actually read these transcripts. I actually tried, put this work in, to, put the truth out. Thank you to his wife for for asking for these transcripts to come out and be reviewed. Do I feel like he did it? No, I don't. Anybody could see he didn't do it. If you like this video, like, share, subscribe. Support the channel. Grow spiritually. Connect with your high self every single day. Be blessed. Peace to the gods and goddesses.